Hi everyone, welcome back to the Astrology channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kaylin and today we're going to be looking at your August 2025 horoscope. This is a tropical Western astrological reading and you can watch your horoscope for your ascendant, sun and moon sign. However, if you've only got time to watch one horoscope today, then I would start off with your ascendant sign, which is also known as your rising sign. If you're wanting to see more astrological content and updates from me, please feel free to check out my Instagram and Facebook accounts. It's the same handle, which is Astrology. Without further ado though, let's get into your August horoscope. Hi fellow Taurus Sun, Moon and Risings, welcome to your August 2025 horoscope. Let's start off by looking at career and business for you. So you've got a strong activation for pretty much 3/4 of the month with Mars transiting through your 6th house. So this is from the 7th of August until the 21st of September. Mars will be in Libra, transiting the 6th house, and the 6th house relates to our day-to-day work life. So think your work routines, the processes and systems that you've employed for work or that you have to adhere to if you have an employer. Okay, so Mars going through the 6th house can see you actually working really hard on work tasks, on getting a routine and structure in place that is going to support your work so that you can basically be as productive as possible. If you have experienced conflict in the workplace or some kind of issue that has been hard for you to overcome, then Mars going through the 6th house can actually give you the assertiveness and the drive to overcome these issues. Another way it can be interpreted though is that Mars going through the 6th house can see there being issues that do arise in your workplace or in terms of the work that you do. So do anticipate between the 7th of August and the 21st of September working hard, having to be more productive and having to overcome obstacles, challenges, and maybe delays as it relates to whatever kind of work you do. If you have employees, during this time, you may actually need to let go of one of your employees. On a different note, Mars going through the 6th house can see you actively vetting candidates to look at who you can bring on board to your workplace. And for some of you, maybe you've never had an employee before, maybe you've never had an assistant. And so you're just having to basically wrap your head around certain, oh, sorry, I thought that was, I thought my laptop was on silent. Wrap your head around what that will entail. Okay, so on the 9th of August, there will be a full moon in Aquarius in your 10th house and it will be at 16 degrees and 59 minutes. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the 10th house relates to your career and your public reputation. So a full moon here in the 10th house, which is essentially the top of the chart, can see whatever you are putting out there actually garnering more attention, being more visible. So maybe you're thinking about releasing some kind of work in a public sense. Maybe it gets a lot of attention. Maybe your boss's boss sees the work that you're doing and maybe you receive accolades for such things. On a different note, this is creating a bit of tension between your professional life and your home life and family life. And I say that because we've still got Mercury in the 4th house. Okay, so maybe you are questioning whether it would be beneficial to reveal something about your family situation or your home life. I'll give you 2 random examples. One could be that maybe you're struggling with something at home and you are contemplating whether you should share this with your boss or maybe with human resources, because that way maybe you could get personal leave or carer's leave or just some more time or a bit of a buffer to deal with some kind of home situation. That's one example. Another example could be that you are maybe toying with the idea of revealing a bit more about your personal life so that you seem more relatable, more authentic, and maybe this will basically afford you more credibility if your clients, if your audience, if the people who you're wanting your work to reach are aware of this aspect of your personal life. Okay, so moving along though, on the 12th of August, we're going to see the Venus-Jupiter conjunction taking place in Cancer in your 3rd house at 14 degrees. This only happens once a year, but to have the conjunction occur in the sign of Cancer, we haven't seen this for like 11 or 12 years. And Venus is your ruling planet, so this is very important. And Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Okay, so this is bestowing you with some kind of blessing, and it is sextiling you. So conjunctions are all about the birth of something new, the start of something new. So the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in your 3rd house can indicate that you may be working on a new writing project, a new collaboration opportunity, a new business venture, a new social media page or website or app that you want to develop, or a course that you want to create. These are just a few different ways that this can play out. On a different note, but sort of similar, the 3rd house relates to our skills, and it also rules over things like examinations, licenses, tests, etc. So some of you may be enrolling in a new course. Others of you may be applying for something which will require a test or an examination, like a driver's test, or going for your boat license. Or maybe you are applying for some kind of course, diploma, or qualification or certification, even if it's like a one-day thing, like an RSA, responsible serving of alcohol certificate, as an example. Now, lastly, let's just have a quick look at the new moon in Virgo. All right, so on the 23rd of August, there will be a new moon in Virgo in your 5th house. Not to mention the 23rd of August is when the sun will first enter the sign of Virgo, so that's when Virgo season will effectively start. So having the sun transit your 5th house for 4 weeks from that date onwards can see you being really focused on starting your own business, working on expanding your existing business further, some kind of creative project. So there could be some entrepreneurial opportunity that comes up that you are focusing on. Now, with the new moon occurring in your 5th house at 0 degrees, it's very, very potent, and it's trining you as a Taurus sun, moon, or rising. So this can see you. Actually, let me just mention, right? The new moon in Virgo is going to square Uranus in Gemini. Okay, so that represents that there's something unexpected that is happening, whether that is the speed with which an opportunity comes around and you have to act on it, or you have like an idea that hits you like a lightning bolt and it's like, I need to act on this now because time is of the essence. Or maybe you are having an epiphany about a new direction, a hard left that you want to take with your existing business. So the 5th house is very much about owning our own business and less so about if we work for someone else. However, the 5th house can represent leadership opportunities and public speaking opportunities. So even if you work for someone else, that's fine. Maybe there'll be an opportunity for you to speak publicly or to step up and accept a leadership position, or even just be a role model. Even if it's just for 4 weeks, you may be standing in for your boss or your manager while they're away, as an example. So let's shift gears. Let's talk about finances and property. Now, for the whole month, Mercury will be in Leo in your 4th house. The 4th house, which is effectively the bottom of our chart, represents our property and living situation. So Mercury spent quite a bit of time here because of its retrograde cycle. As we enter the month, Mercury is still retrograde, and it will be direct once more on the 11th of August at 4 degrees, which incidentally is the Cancer degree. So 4 degrees itself rules over property and living situations. I have no doubt that many Taurians are thinking about where they are living. Are you happy there? Do you want to renovate? Do you want to expand? Would you be happier if you moved somewhere else? Should we ask our flatmate to move out? Should we invite our grown-up children to come and live with us? You know, all of these kinds of thoughts and conversations could be running through your head or be had with important members of your family or whoever that decision would impact. Okay, so you could be changing your mind about your property and living situation. Maybe you always had said, you know, I'll never live here, or I always want to retire there. And the Mercury retrograde in your 4th house is leading you to rethink and reevaluate certain decisions. Now, we've also got the Sun-Mercury conjunction taking place on the 1st of the month. Okay, so literally smack bang, day 1 of August. Sun conjunct Mercury in your 4th house at 9 degrees. Mercury still retrograde at this point. So this can see you having some kind of important realization about your long-term plans for the future, your vision for where you want to live, how you want to live, etc. And some other things to note here is that on the 12th of August, we're going to see Venus and Jupiter conjunct in the sign of Cancer in your 3rd house. Obviously, I've already mentioned this, but this does pertain to property and real estate because Cancer rules over property and real estate. It's the sign of property. Okay, so there could be important contracts that you are receiving, perusing, or even signing around the 12th of August. Now, still talking about property before we look at finances, on the 25th or 26th of August, depending where you live in the world, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo. So this could see you being really focused on the fun side of your living situation, decorating, design, furnishings, you know, picking out wallpaper, tiles, and, you know, even the design of your house. Okay, if you're looking at architectural plans as an example, and Venus is also going to be making some very positive aspects in the last few days of the month. So if there's been a lot of push and pull energy about your living situation, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of difficult conversations, I do think that you will gain more clarity in the last sort of week of the month. With finances, you could be spending big, and again, maybe this is to do with property, okay? And I say that because of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction at 14 degrees, which is Taurus, money. Now, when it comes to finances and resources for you, Taurus, the 12th of August seems to be a point at which you may be considering parting with a large sum of money. And I say this for a couple of reasons. One is that we've got the Jupiter-Venus conjunction in your 3rd house at 14 degrees. 14 degrees is the Taurus degree, so it rules over money and resources. So you may be investing in your education. You may be investing in some kind of business proposition or opportunity. On a different note, you could be investing in property, which I think I've already mentioned. Now, also on the 12th of August, we're going to see Saturn in Aries in your 12th house, sextiling Uranus in Gemini in your 2nd house. So the 2nd house rules over finances and resources, and the sextile here could indicate that you are perhaps investing in something that's going to support your career, or maybe you're even investing in learning about finances. So you could be taking a course in accounting, in finances, in money management, or you may just be looking at making an important investment. Okay, so now let's have a look at family and home life. So Mercury, as I mentioned before, is in Leo for the whole month of August, and it is retrograde until the 11th of August. So this can see you having important conversations with family members. If you've not been speaking to your parents, maybe you start talking to them again. Maybe you are making important considerations or decisions about the future of your family, especially if you still have young children or dependents. Maybe you are changing your mind about the kinds of boundaries you want to have with your relationships. So for some of you, this could be reinforcing existing boundaries, drawing up new boundaries, or you could be sort of like willing to give a family member another chance to, I suppose, rebuild your relationship or their relationship with you. Okay, so towards the end of the month, once we have the sun entering Virgo on the 23rd of August and the new moon on the 23rd of August, this could see you maybe looking at starting to try to conceive, okay, starting to try to get pregnant. Or if you already have children, maybe there's a new chapter commencing in the life or the lives of one of your children. Whatever's happening in August, it will roll on into September. And that's because in September, we have a new moon eclipse in Virgo. So we've actually got double new moons in Virgo in back-to-back months. So watch whatever is happening in either the lives of your children this month, or what's happening around you expanding your family further this month. And by the way, this can still look like blending your families, meeting your partner's children from a previous relationship, or introducing your partner to your children from another relationship, just as an example. Okay, so from the 25th or 26th of August, depending where you live in the world, Venus, which is your ruling planet, is going to enter the sign of Leo, which means it is transiting your 4th house. So this can see you being very, very focused on your family, very focused on your home life, maybe entertaining in the home, maybe having guests over or parties, or little get-togethers. Okay, Venus going through the 4th house can see us taking pride in our home, maybe working on the garden, decorating the home, and so on and so forth. Now, when we look at love and relationships, and by the way, this also includes friendships, there's tension at the start of the month. And that's because we've got Venus in Cancer in your 3rd house, squaring both Saturn and Neptune in Aries in your 12th house at 1 degree. So the 3rd house rules over siblings, extended relatives, as well as friends, childhood friends and co-workers. Okay, so the first few days of the month could be more testing in one or more of those relationships. And maybe you are questioning whether you can trust certain people in your life, because Venus square Neptune is like, what are your intentions? Are they nefarious? Can you keep a secret? Absolute worst case scenario would be feeling betrayed by someone that you consider to be a friend or a sibling or an extended relative. All right. But as we move away from the first few days of the month, that energy just dissipates. Okay. So Venus will conjunct Jupiter in Cancer on the 12th of August. So then this can bring a blessing or healing to one of those relationships. So again, with a sibling, with an extended relative, with a friend. And Venus and Jupiter transiting your 3rd house for almost the whole month basically indicates that it is a social time for you. It's a social month. So there can be opportunities for you to make new friends, to meet new people, to connect with people in your local neighborhood or community, which is what the 3rd house rules over. Now, when it comes to love and romance, Venus conjunct Jupiter in your 3rd house could see there being some kind of romantic situation which takes off. And maybe this is with a friend, a co-worker, a client, maybe a neighbor, maybe even a childhood friend. Okay, so lastly, for love and romance, once Virgo season starts and we have the new moon in Virgo, and this is, the 23rd of August that we're looking at here, there can be a much bigger focus on your romantic life, love, dating, sex life, etc. The new moon in your 5th house can indicate that maybe there's a new romance that is taking off. Maybe you meet someone and you're very attracted to that person, or there's flirtations that arise. And if you're already in a relationship, well, then the sun transiting your 5th house can see there being more opportunities for you to spice up your romantic life, or to maybe go on cute dates and basically just have more fun, essentially. Okay, so in summary, your chart ruler is spending most of its time in the 3rd house. So you're very much focused on your skill set, reading, maybe taking on a new course or creating some content, socializing, etc., etc. But there's also this big focus the whole month on your property and living situation. So if there has been confusion about what direction to move in, then I do think by the end of the month, you will have more clarity as the post-shadow period comes to a close. And also towards the very end of the month, your chart ruler Venus will be trining Saturn in Aries, and it will be sextiling Uranus in Gemini, and then opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So this is all happening around the 25th to the 27th of August. So to me, this looks like a very potent moment for you when it comes to making important decisions about your career, about your finances and resources, and about your public status and what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. And maybe there'll be some work opportunities that come through for you around that point. Okay, so that's all I have for you, Taurus. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. If you're wanting more content, you can follow me at KAstrology. In any case, enjoy your month ahead, Taurus, and I will see you guys in September.